Hi, everybody. With our Happy Mind Story series, I share the inspirational stories of people who have suffered with mental illness or mental health issues and have successfully learned to live with this and go on to thrive and are now helping others to do the same. In today's Happy Mind Story, I have the pleasure of speaking to Kareema Riddick, who'll be sharing her personal story of struggling with anxiety and insomnia. So, Kareema, how are you going today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, going well, thanks. So, and thank you for making yourself available to share your story. So, well, let's get started now, and
Mhm.
perhaps you could introduce yourself to the audience, talk a little bit about your own personal experience and the journey that has led you to where you are today.
So, grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, 5, 10 minutes from Young Universities, where I grew up. Um, Long story short, decided I wanted to leave New Haven. I wanted to be, different atmosphere, something where I could, get a better career and just have a better quality of life for me being a single young mom, right? So, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, started over fresh. Didn't have a job or anything when I moved here. I had a job in 2 weeks, got my own place, had a car, started working in logistics. In 2002, worked my way up, knew nothing about logistics at all. Worked my way up the corporate ladder for years. So I've been in logistics for 20 years. Last year made 20 years. I've been working in logistics, worked my way up to a manager position, and so I would say around 2017 is where, so over the years, I always was questioning myself, as a mom, as a career mom, juggling life and not being married, being a single mom, right? Just trying to make ends meet and grow a career. So I always would beat myself up all the time about where I was, right? How am I doing as a mom? How am I doing in the career? Overworking myself. And I found myself not sleeping. So that's when the anxiety kicked in, I would say. Not sleeping, constantly mind going, thinking about the past, what woulda, coulda, what could I have done better, right? What can I do better when I get to work to get promoted? How can I be seen? And then also just dealing with anxiety as well, in the workforce, being afraid to speak up, give my ideas, just kind of having that imposter syndrome, I would say. So in 2017 is where I really had a really bad breakthrough to where I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to, I just didn't want to do anything. And I felt myself really get into a deep, scary place. So that was the first time I ever actually called the number on the back of my healthcare card. So for years, I'm in corporate. I have access to therapy. I had access to, call a therapist. They pay for like the first 5 visits. Most jobs I had, I've never used it because sometimes people put it in your head, you're crazy or you just need to do this, you just need to do that. They put their own opinions on you. So I never looked into therapy. I never thought it was an option for me. So I finally reached out and I started therapy in 2017, which really kind of dealt with a lot of different layers that I have been dealing with over the years, being a single mom, just trying to make life happen for me the way I thought it was supposed to happen. And therapy opened my eyes to like different avenues, different ways that I could cope with, just having the anxiety. And I would say I had mild depression, sleeping, not wanting to do anything, not wanting to talk to anyone about it. So those were symptoms of depression as well. So therapy, number one, really helped me kind of cope with what was going on. And then I would say just starting to do things. I always felt like I was a people pleaser. So I was always like the life of the party, always joking and laughing with everyone at work. Even like with my family and friends, I was always the one cracking jokes, always, just making things fun. But little did they know that I was suffering from anxiety and then suffering from depression, but I was coping with it, in their eyes. Oh, she's fine, she's so sweet, she's so nice, and she always has something funny to say, but they didn't know what I was dealing with internally. So holding all that in, that causes a lot of depression when you're not really talking about how you're feeling. So
No, very good. So, So the therapy was kind of like where you kind of like identified for yourself that you really needed some help, and then I guess being able to express yourself was kind of like part of that healing journey.
Yeah, yeah. If being able to express myself, and number one, just being able to talk about it, because we get so afraid to open up and talk to people. Just keep everything surface level, and that's what I was doing. I was keeping everything at the surface. Everything is fine. The kids are good. I'm good, but deep down, I was dealing with a lot of internal issues, childhood trauma and stuff like that. So my therapist really taught me how to talk about it. I started letting people know, oh, I'm going to therapy. People who were experiencing some of the same things that I was dealing with was like, oh, give me your therapist number. You like your therapist? I started sharing her number with everybody. And different therapy groups as well. So it was kind of therapy for me to even talk about it, number one. And then also just share, what I was feeling, what I was going through. And then I started enjoying helping other people that were telling me, things that they were dealing with, or asking for different recommendations. So getting therapy and then also opening up and talking about it was the first step.
Very good. Is there a particular type of therapy you were undertaking?
So I was doing behavioral therapy, because I was what you call like a functional, I was going through like functional depression. So on the outside, I didn't look like I was depressed or dealing with any type of anxiety, but in the inside, God forbid I had to talk about something at work and get up in front of people, and then being a manager as well. People really thought, she really has her stuff together, but it would take me days to really sit down and write things out, and think about things that I was going to say before they would even come out my mouth. So and then I did a lot of work on like childhood trauma as well. So it was just like a combination.
Okay, so a lot of things in your past, like as a child, were kind of
Yeah.
like manifesting later on. So how did you, beyond the therapy, learn to deal with it on a day-to-day basis?
Mhm. So I would say I started getting busy. So number one, in the beginning, I started taking medication for anxiety, for not anxiety, but for insomnia. And I did not like taking medication at all, because I would wake up with food in the bed. I'm like, where does food come from? I didn't like the feeling of, not being in control. So that's kind of how I got into different herbs and stuff like that. So I started busying myself, working out, being around positive people, people who are not going to tear you down, or, say negative things about therapy, or, things that you are dealing with, but to them it could be minor, right? So I just started surrounding myself with positive people. I started, just not doing heavy exercise, but let's going to at least doing 30 minutes of walking in the beginning, just getting myself more active. I stopped people pleasing. So I started doing things that I enjoyed, bike riding with my son, just doing things that I really enjoyed, took the focus of me people pleasing and being disappointed by people.
Very good. So you mentioned herbs and spices, and any particular ones that you found quite helpful?
Yeah, so actually I always loved tea. Like I drank tea with my grandparents when I was younger, my grandmother on my mom and dad's side. So I couldn't remember the name of the herbs or anything. My grandmother would give me chamomile tea all the time. If I had a stomach ache, headache, bruised ankle, whatever it was, she was like, "You're gonna drink this chamomile tea, it's gonna make it better." So as I got older and I started researching different herbs, and I immediately recognized the smell of chamomile. It's a distinct smell. And I started doing research, and then especially around COVID time, my husband will tell you I was ordering all kind of herbs to the house, and it's experimenting with different herbs. And so that's where like the bedtime tea came from, was me trying to experiment with natural, remedies versus taking medication. And so that would kind of like spark the interest in starting an herbal tea business.
Very good. So we can talk a little bit about that a little bit later. So what
Mhm.
other what other tools and strategies have you used to kind of like help make sure you don't go back to anxiety or struggle with insomnia?
Yeah, so my biggest thing is self-care. And so for me, I kind of feel myself getting overworked if I've been doing too much lately, working long hours. I could kind of recognize it now. And it's like, all right, stop it. Stop what you're doing. It's time to regroup. So I like to meditate. I do a lot of journaling, my thoughts, because my mind races all the time, like all the time. So getting that out helps. Journaling helps. And then also meditating, like the first thing I do when I wake up, no social media, nothing about the news. I don't want to hear anything negative. So the first thing I do is I journal and I meditate. So that's kind of how I start my day. So immediate when I feel myself, going back to a dark place, I just kind of focus in and I say, all right, what are things that you enjoy, right? Even if it's in the evening time, I'll take a hot bath. I'll put on some meditation music, anything to kind of calm my mind because I could feel the trigger coming on. Yeah. So those
Very,
are kind of the immediate things that I do. And then, I do the simple things like, all right, well, let's do a family day. Let's just go out and have some fun. Because you'll be shocked, like when you distract your mind, sometimes those negative thoughts, they have no place but if you're just laying in the bed and you're just thinking about something over and over and over, you find yourself dwelling on it, right? So kind of getting busy, but getting busy with things that are catered towards self-care. So I'm huge on self-care.
very good. Are you still going to therapy, or have you managed to kind of like work through this yourself now?
Yeah, so I do therapy off and on. I don't go consistently, but when I feel myself getting into like a dark place, it's like, all right, let me pick up the phone, let me make a appointment, and not feeling guilty about it either.
No, very
So,
good. So no, you certainly gone through the whole process, and then, you kind of, I guess you've realized the benefits of it, and then there is no
mhm,
kind of like shame. And then I like how now you're also kind of like helping other people to kind of,
mhm,
feel comfortable also expressing how they're feeling and then seeking out help. So how do
mhm.
you think you've grown through this experience?
For me, I feel like I've grown because I could recognize the pattern, because you could easily slip back into that pattern. So I could recognize the pattern now, and I know when I need to, pick up the phone. Even if it's not scheduling a therapy appointment, I could talk to my mom, my husband, I could talk to someone that's close to me that is going to lift me up, right? So, so number one is recognizing when I'm getting into that dark place, and then I feel like I've grown because I enjoy helping other people as well. So if someone comes to me, instead of trying to bring another negative, comment to the situation, I try to stay real positive because I know that's a delicate place. So if someone brings an issue up to you, you never know how much it took for them to say that. So you never want to tear them down. You want to lift them up as well. So I kind of recognize when somebody might make a comment to me. So I feel like I've grown in those areas versus just, oh, why does person want to give me their problems? No, that person needs to talk. So if they need to talk, you need to listen. It's a different.
Awesome. So what do you think this whole experience has taught you about yourself?
Um, it definitely taught me how to slow down. Um, it taught me how to cope and not feel guilty for my feelings. Talk about my feelings more, because I feel like growing up, I just kept a lot to myself, and it was my own fault, nobody else's fault. So just verbalizing how I feel is a huge relief as an adult now. And then just not being afraid to even talk about it because when I was a child, no one talked about self-care or mental health. I didn't hear anything about that. Even 10 years ago, I didn't hear anybody really talking about, mental health or self-care too much.
No, definitely. So what advice would you have given to yourself back in now looking back to 2017?
Oh my goodness. I would tell myself to listen, like pick up that phone, use the benefits you have. Like you let money go down the drain. You got access to healthcare, mental therapy, and just talk about it more, instead of holding everything in. I held everything in for years, and it was not healthy at all. I felt like it just made me sick, even physically. Even though I might not have been sick, I felt like my body was sick because I was just holding all that, unnecessary anxiety in.
Very good. And what advice would you give to someone else who's going for a similar experience, like the advice you're giving to others right now?
Yeah. So my advice is, number one, speak up. Find somebody that you trust. Ask for opinions. Some people, could recommend you to someone, and just find things that you're passionate about too, because that helps get you moving and not sitting in the house just thinking about it. So I would say definitely seek help first. There's a lot of free programs, even if you have an insurance company that doesn't offer it. Just you could just look up free therapy. They have free therapy groups, where you can meet other people, and just know that you're not alone. A lot of people feel like they're the only ones going through this. No, we're all out here trying to live life, trying to be the best that we can be. So just recognizing that you're not in this alone. There's other people going through the same, scenarios.
Awesome. And what's a final message of hope you would like to give people?
The final message of hope that I would like to give is that, um, you dictate how you want your life to be. So just speak it into existence. If you're feeling down, don't sit there and say, just talk yourself up, talk good to yourself. Compliment yourself if you're doing something good. A lot of people just so down on themselves. Oh, I can't do this right. I can't do that right. So no negative talking to ourselves, number one. So uplift yourself, and then just be the best that you can be. Don't try to mimic anybody else. We're all unique. We all have our own unique abilities and talents. And just start with loving yourself, take a walk, go out to lunch, take yourself out to lunch, just anything to keep moving and keep your, keep happy thoughts.
Brilliant. And so to finish up, perhaps you can talk a little bit about what you're doing now with Yes Darling Tea, because there is a linkage back to your kind of like personal experience, and then also you're big on self-care and wellness, and you kind of like blended it into your company, haven't you?
Yes, I have. And it wasn't really on purpose. It just went hand in hand when we start, digging into herbs and different remedies. I just started realizing that other people are, dealing with insomnia, other people deal with anxiety. And, we're all so busy. We do a lot of things in life. We work, we juggle businesses, but just taking 5 minutes out your day to make a cup of tea, that's a part of self-care right there, because we're moving so fast, right? You have to boil the water. You can't just put cold water in there, So I just kind of incorporate that in my business because I want us to talk about it. I want people to realize that, hey, I need to take care of myself. I need to treat myself sometimes. I need to take 5-10 minutes out of my day just to sit down and relax. So we have a lot of teas. We have some bedtime teas. We have fun teas. We have teas catered towards mood. So, anything that's related to self-care and wellness, we want to be a part of it. So that's kind of how I started Yes Darling Tea, with my own personal journey, and then extending it to others as well. And people just get excited when they get a package from me. They're like, oh, just made me feel special. So I love making people feel special, and just started hosting like tea parties as well, and just making people have a fun day, feel special, feel catered to. Like that goes a long way.
Awesome. Well, Kareema, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and willing to share your story. I'm sure the audience has got a lot of value from this. And as we kind of like indicated throughout, there should be no shame in talking about what you're experiencing. And definitely, you've kind of like given people a view of what's possible if you do speak about it, and definitely go seek the help you need. If you are feeling down, certainly don't try to kind of like muscle your way through it. Certainly go find a therapist, or even
Mhm.
talk to someone close to you if you don't have
Yeah.
access to a therapist, to kind of like help you get through it. So for
Mhm.
anyone interested, how can they find you online?
So I'm www.yesdarlingtea.com. And on all social media platforms, we are Yes Darling Tea. So
Awesome. Well, one more time, Kareema, thank you so much for sharing your happy mind story.
thank you so much for having me.